Mainstream, we continue. Just go here this slide. This slide. No, not the point. I don't know. We get to the first do is in this. Maybe this one. Did you ask me my inaugural lecture? White background. Okay.
With the foundation of a man who has been born and bred in the resilience and in the productive culture of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Someone who stands before us as a model of industrial achievement, a trailblazer, and a true exemplar of the Nigerian spirit. A citation of Dr. Gabriel Ifeanyi Ogbeche, OON. Dr. Gabriel Ifeanyi Ogbeche was born on the 28th day of May, 1962, to Mr. Emmanuel Ogbeche and late Edwin Ogbeche. He is the fifth of 6 children. He started his primary education at All Saints Primary School in Arlington, Edo State, in 1972, which he completed at 3 of the National Primary School of the Child in 1977. He attended St. Patrick's College, Asaba, from 1977 to 1982. He took gaining admission to the prestigious University of Benin in 1982 and graduated in 1987 with a second-class honors upper division degree in production engineering. Following his compulsory one-year national service, the lecturer in the Cambridge Polytechnic, Dr. Ogbeche began his early career with Paragraph Edible Oil Company Limited Family, where he worked as a factory engineer from 1989 to 1991. His quest for knowledge and professionalism took him to PricewaterhouseCoopers, a leading firm of chartered accountants and management consultants, where he worked from 1991 to 1992. In 1992, he joined Aston Oil, where he was responsible for sales and operations. Dr. Gabriel Ogbeche, OON, is the group managing director of Red Oil Limited, a leading energy company in Nigeria. In fact, thank you. He has over 30 years of sales, marketing, and operations experience within the oil and gas space. At a time of limited individual participation, he was able to identify opportunities within the oil and gas space. In 1997, he founded Red Oil Limited, which he has guided from very modest beginning to becoming a company with multiple operations across the downstream value chain. The Red Oil story has been eventful and successful, but not one without challenges. Dr. Ogbeche has always led from the front line with a hands-on involvement in operation. 28 years down the road, Red Oil Group strategic assets include 3 ultra-modern petroleum product storage depots, that is, 50 million liter capacity multi-product depot in Ogara, Delta State, Calabar, Cross River State, and Ijebu River in Delta State. There is also an 8,000 metric ton LPG bulk storage facility in Jebu, Lagos State. There is one shipping vessel, a 1,500 liter container terminal in the Federal Capital Territory of Abuja, over 250 retail petrol stations across the country. It has over 55 LPG retail outlets located across Nigeria. A fleet of over 400 petroleum product tank trucks for efficient delivery of products to its network of stations and customers across the country. I believe we can go better with that, please. It is not easy. Thank you. Thank you. Dr. Oweche pioneered the petroleum product bulk storage investment in the Admiralty University, which today is a critical hub for petroleum product supply in the country, and in his capacity as the group managing director, oversees a staff of over 2,000 employees. So he is putting food on the table of 10,000 families in Nigeria, at least. In line with his drive for service, excellence, and self-development, he has attended several management courses, locally and abroad. He holds an honorary doctorate degree of technology management from the Convocation University of Nigeria. He is a pioneer graduate of the Owner Manager Program, Lagos Business School, and Admiralty University, and an alumnus of Harvard Business School, OPM 57. He has also attended seminars and workshops in Houston, USA, London, the UK, and Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia. Dr. Oweche, a firm believer in honesty, commitment to duty, diligence, and perseverance, has embodied values as exemplified in the success story of the Red Oil Limited. He is the chairman of the Ghana PLC, a director at Global Bank, and sits on the board of several other companies operating in shipping and real estate sector. Dr. Oweche was conferred with the officer of the Order of the Niger, OON, by former President Muhammadu Buhari on the 11th of October 2022. He is also a recipient of several awards, including the Downstream Company of the Year Award and the 2020 Nigeria Business Leaders Award, Downstream Man of the Year Award, 2018 Foreign Trading and Logistics Conference, finalists at the 2014 EY Entrepreneur of the Year Award, Most Peaceful Oil Personality in Nigeria Award, among others. A man who simultaneously wears many hats, Dr. Oweche is people-oriented and a strong believer in giving back to his youth. Thus, he has founded and supported many initiatives here at promoting excellence and holistic well-being in society through various foundations and well-known CSR initiatives, which include the Gabriel Oweche Foundation that provides financial support to orphanages in Lagos and Abuja, the Praise Foundation for Children, which provides support and identified aid to children in special need. There are also other red oil company community service relations initiatives like the annual red oil volunteering fund, targeted at promoting youth and sports development in Nigeria, which is held at the Imperial Country Club in Lagos. Medical outreaches that provide schools and red oil post examinations, eye check, and free correctional license. Christmas outreaches that provide material and financial support to low-income families. Provision of physical infrastructure and public amenities in local communities in Delta State, including public roads in Ijebuode, Igboko, and the other local government areas. A classroom block in Obama, Delta State, and we come across the state. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Gabriel Ifeanyi JJOON is a key one-space enthusiast and relates to the fitness of the mind and body. He is happily married to Godly Operation and both are blessed with 3 children. And I
Thank you very much for that very wonderful citation. When I listened to that citation at some point, I wondered if I was the one that we were talking about. Thank you so very much. The Vice Chancellor, the Chief of Naval Staff, the Registrar, the Deputy Registrar, of course, the Chancellor of this very distinguished university, distinguished faculty, distinguished guests, beloved students, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great honor to stand before you today. Admiralty University represents a beacon of learning and aspiration. Ideas need courage, and where the next generation of leaders are being shaped. I sincerely thank the leadership of this great institution for inviting me to speak on a theme that could not have been more relevant at a time like this, and that is developing an institution in an economically challenging environment. Developing an institution in an economically challenging environment. This subject reflects a reality we all confront today as individuals, as institutions, and as a nation. We live in a time when economic turbulence has become constant. Foreign exchange volatility, inflationary pressures, constraining access to credit, and policy uncertainties that test the resilience of every organization, the Admiralty University of Nigeria not being any exception. Yet within these constraints lies a deeper question. How do we build and sustain institutions that endure? Ladies and gentlemen, that is what we need to interrogate this morning. Nigeria faces some very key challenges. The first is foreign exchange volatility. As recent as year 2020, the dollar exchanged for 470 naira to the dollar. Today, is 1,442 naira to the dollar just within 5 years and counting. Inflation 5 years ago was a factory 13.2%. Today, inflation is north of 17% and counting. Our foreign exchange reserve, yes, 5 years ago was $36 billion. Today, we see a gradual increase in our foreign exchange reserve of $43 billion. However, 5 years ago, as a nation, our total debt was 32 trillion as a country by indebted to the tune of 152 trillion naira. Fuel cost 5 years ago was 161 naira per liter. Today, fuel is 910 naira per liter. That's about 5 times the cost. So all the index point to the fact that we live in an economically challenged environment. And at the university, I was really very excited when I was invited to come and talk on this topic today, because one of the things I always say is that as businessmen and as institutions, our responsibility is to run business as things are, not as they ought to be. So in other words, we need to face our reality. This is our reality. There's no price for pity party. We can sit down here from now to tomorrow and lament on how things have gone bad. It doesn't change anything. What we need to do as business people and as an institution is to face our reality and come up with strategies on how to deal with these dire circumstances we all found ourselves. So how do we build a resilient institution? The first thing I want to talk about is that we need to drive infrastructure development through partnerships and sponsorship. Institutions, especially the Admiralty University of Nigeria, need to drive infrastructure development through partnerships and through sponsorship. Build structured relationships with private sector players, not just ad hoc donations. For example, we need to get MOUs with companies that will cover scholarships, laboratory support, and joint research. We need to do partnerships that create consistent funding while boosting credibility and alignment with industry needs. In other words, we need to add value. We need to offer many rights, public recognition, and industry-tailored curriculum, and then provide access to internship and research talent. How do we build structured relationships with the private sector? For some of us who are privileged to and see a lot of other institutions, we see what I call a firm handshake between the private sector and the institution in a way that institutions add value and they also get value from the private sector. I will be Harvard School, for example. Harvard has a Harvard Kennedy School where Mark Zuckerberg and Priscilla Chan have pledged $519 million just to support the Ketman Institute in Kennedy Business School. In Stanford University, there's a venture capitalist called John Doerr and his wife, Anne, who, even though they are not alumnus of the school, they donated $1.1 billion to launch a new school focused on climate and sustainability. And of course, there's the Johns Hopkins University, where my Bloomberg has donated about $3 billion just to support the Bloomberg School of Public Health, which is named after him. Now, these are people who have come out and made huge donations to schools. I mean, these are funds you can't get through the normal channel. There is so much money out there that can actually add value So these institutions, the institutions themselves also need to give back value in return. A couple of weeks ago, I was in Houston, a place where I go to a lot. There's a cancer center called the MD Anderson Cancer Center. For those of you who go to Texas, you know the MD Anderson Cancer Center. I've always thought there is a standalone hospital that is owned by MD Anderson. But on this particular thing, I got talking to a medical doctor who works in the hospital, and he mentioned that that hospital is actually a part of the University of Texas. And the moment he told me that MD Anderson must have added a lot of value. So I dug deep, and I realized that in 1942, MD Anderson donated $500,000 to the University of Texas to support their cancer effort on one condition, that they named the hospital after him. Now look, 1942, that's more than 80 years ago. That singular donation has created that institution. It continues to bear his name, but so much value has been added to the institution and to the society by that singular donation. Of course, we have so many examples locally in the University of Lagos. Tech Fund, NLNGs have funded lecture theaters, have supported engineering building. In the University of Ibadan, not too long ago, a Dr. Philip Osua, an alumnus of that university, donated $1 million to fund a new hostel building. Of course, there are so many such examples that abound. I want to encourage the Admiralty University to very, very actively pursue this. You need to establish endowment and professional chairs. Establish endowment and professorial chairs. Endowment chairs, where corporations fund professional fees in exchange for brand visibility and research assets. There are benefits for the university. One, you can get predictable income for the university. You can attract top faculty and enhance research, and then you can increase global ranking and recognition. How do you encourage endowment chairs? In other universities, I was in Harvard Business School some time ago. I know that the lecturer or the professor who took us on leadership, he is called the Richard P. Chapman Professor of Business Administration. His name is Boris Kreuzberg, but he's addressed as Richard Chapman Professor of Business Administration. So Richard P. Chapman has endowed that professorial chair. So even though Boris Kreuzberg is sitting there at this time, they keep getting support from Richard P. Chapman. There is the Roland Christensen Professor of Business Administration. This professorship is held by someone currently in the university. And there are so many things like that. So Admiralty University can actively engage the private sector. Beyond getting naming rights, people can just endow a professorial chair and they can keep getting support from that. Of course, in Nigeria, there are so many examples like that. In the University of Ibadan, there's a Shell professorial chair in petroleum engineering. In the University of Lagos, there's a Professor Adeboye professorial chair in mathematics. Of course, we all know that Enoch Adeboye is a first-class mathematician. In Convocation University, there's a local philanthropist chair in leadership and entrepreneurship. Number 3, strengthen alumni networks for funding and growth. Strengthen alumni network. There is nothing as powerful as connection. Let me digress. For those of you who are graduating today, please keep in touch with each other. Not only do you keep in touch with each other, the university should make it a policy to also keep in touch review. Strengthening alumni network. Alumni base is often a university's most predictable or most dependable financial resource. Provide strategic visibility through main projects, ensure involvement in industry advisory boards, offer access to research collaboration, establish alumni career services and lifelong learning packages. Many successful alumni will contribute financially if there were transparency, structure, and visible impact. Again, I will go back to Harvard Business School, a school where I am privileged to also be a very active alumnus. In 2023, Harvard Business School, Harvard University raised more than $1.4 billion from the alumni alone. $1.4 billion came to Harvard University just through their alumni. Because they have a very active alumni network that in every country, even in Nigeria, we have the Harvard Business School Association in Nigeria, where we meet regularly, where on an annual basis, this weekend we have a dinner in Lagos, Harvard Business School Alumni Association in Nigeria. And so they are very deliberate about it. And I can see the result that comes out of that, what I call intentionality. They are very, very intentional. And the result speaks for itself. In the same Harvard Business School, the cafeteria is called Chow, who was an alumnus of the school, built it and donated to the university. So the university owns it, but it's called Chow Building. The last time I was there, the hostel we stayed is called the Tata Building. Beautiful first-class building. Tata, for those of you who, Tata is the worldwide billionaire who is based in India. He owns the Tata household that they own Range Rover and a lot of other vehicles. He donated $50 million towards the building of that hall. Today, you have the Tata building, it's named after him, but it's owned by the Harvard University. So, Admiralty University should actively, congratulations, this is your first convocation, but this is also a good starting point. A good starting point to begin to build on this network, keep your alumni going, nail them, because as they grow, they will never forget where they came from and the school that have added so much value to them. In Stanford University, the alumni fund over 35% of their annual budget. The Stanford School, Graduate School of Business, is heavily funded by the alumni. In MIT, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, alumni donations $500 million in one academic cycle alone. So there is so much value to be gotten out of the alumni relationship. Of course, we have local examples. In the University of Lagos, there's been a renovation of the alumni degree house of about $150 million. In the University of Ibadan, construction of the UI Alumni Association was proposed in the Awolowo University. Faculties like law and technology have received annual multi-million naira donation from alumni set, the Great Fair Alumni Association, which also funds hotels and student sponsorship. So I will continue to encourage not only the Admiralty University of Nigeria, but every other higher institution that there is so much value that can be gotten out of this association. Explore innovation or explore innovative revenue generation strategies. Private universities that diversify beyond tuition, Admiralty University can explore both regional and national events and conferences, attract and large maritime, fintech, telco, soccer, fairs, and industry summits. partner with private developers to build hotels, energy systems, or commercial centers on campus under a build, operate, and transfer model, e.g., solar, gas power plants, facility rentals for corporate retreats, training, exhibitions, and seminars, explore agriculture and agro-based ventures, and then provide research and specialized consulting in established fields. Provide research and specialized consulting in established fields. I was happy when I came in this morning and I was talking to the Vice Chancellor. The Vice Chancellor started to read that one of the things in one of the local communities nearby had donated about 1,000 hectares of land to the university towards doing an agricultural venture. I mean, that's good because the investors must go out there and play. The investors must go out there and engage. They must go out there and try to add value. And talking about value addition, you know, everything I've been talking about is alumni are giving, corporate organizations are giving. But the point is, why do they give? Why should they give you? What value are they getting back from you in return? Because value follows value. When you give value, you get value. When you give value, you get value. So the investors themselves must position themselves in a way that they give value to the society. Some time ago, I was reading a book, I was reading an article. This article was written by a man called Professor Christensen. Professor Christensen is a man who propounded the theory of disruptive innovation. So when he propounded this theory, he said that the then chairman of a company called Intel is a company in the US that makes chips, microprocessors. The then chairman of Intel, a gentleman called Andrew, called him to say, come and talk to me and my leadership on what are the consequences of this disruptive innovation to Intel. How will this disruptive innovation impact Intel? So Professor Christensen flew from Boston. He was a Harvard University professor. He flew from Boston to California to go and meet the group. So when he got there, the group said, tell me the consequences of this your theory on my organization. And according to Professor Christensen, he said, telling him that you're not telling him what the consequences of that will be on Intel, he decided to leave Intel alone and take him through how the steel mill has been disrupted. And the steel mill, the disruption in the steel industry, it didn't start from the top. It started from the bottom. From what we call readers. Readers are these wires you use to tie steel when you want to, for those of you who build, those small wires. That the disruption started from there and crept up the steel industry. And before they knew it, the entire steel industry was disrupted. And the moment he finished taking and the group through that, and the group said, now I get it. This is how Intel is going to be disrupted. And he now went ahead on his own to come up with what he called the Celeron processor. And how Intel now went to the bottom of the market to go and target that. Now, this is a university professor who has come up with value. And this is the private sector who has gotten value, and there is a firm handshake. So tomorrow Intel can say, this is the value I get, either from the professor or from the school, and then go ahead and give value to the school. Not too long ago, again, forgive me, I was in Harvard Business School. I was having dinner with a professor one evening, and he just pulled me aside and said, Dr. Frank, he said, Gabriel, why do we get so many Nigerians coming for this program? And I smiled. Why do so many Nigerians, now, let me digress. The fees in Harvard is not of $60,000 for a 3-week program. So you begin to understand what I'm talking about. Yet, so many Nigerians go there, and I said, it is because you give values. You know, I asked myself, why can't one of the local universities, and I want Admiralty University to lead that, to distinguish themselves in a way that the corporate Nigeria will know. If you want to learn on business, go to Admiralty University. So that when corporate Nigeria want to do a retreat, they want to do a strategic retreat, they come here and they camp here, believing that the professor in this school will so wow them that by the time they go, they know they have done it. It is positioning. You don't position yourself. How do you position yourself? How do you brand yourself? How do you distinguish yourself? That anytime they mention your name becomes synonymous with excellence. That is what we need to be talking about. Now, let's come down to the ground. Admiralty University, set up by the Nigerian Navy. A couple of years ago, in 2013, I started to go into shipping. At some point, the railway group we owned 6 ships. 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We had 6 ships. And in that period, I realized that the biggest problem, 6 ships, 6 tankers are carrying petroleum products. By brought petroleum products into this country. The biggest problem we had was manpower. You need a captain, you need a chief engineer, you need a chief officer, you need a second officer, you need a second engineer. My biggest frustration in shipping was manpower. I asked myself, can we have a university that is dedicated to doing nothing but just training and equipping crew for the shipping industry, especially one that is led by the Nigerian Navy or that is inspired by the Nigerian Navy? So there are so many niche markets that is begging for excellence, that is begging for value. So I will keep encouraging the Admiralty University. So, like they say, the Bible says, you can't do all things to all men. Identify your niche market, be the best there. So that if they say shipping, everybody says go to Admiralty University. If they say leadership, go to Admiralty. If they say business, they say go to Admiralty. Don't try to be all things to all men. Identify where you want to excel and be the best there. Position yourself as a regional top leadership. Like I said, offer customized executive education, professional training, short revenue generating courses for corporate clients and government. Focus on maritime, focus on security, focus on logistics, focus on the blue economy. There is so much money around, you have no idea. There is so much money being spent on training. There is so much money being spent on people traveling, doing nothing but looking for short courses. Because you see, once people get out of the university, this is the only time they have 4 years of their time to sit down somewhere and say somebody is talking to them. From today, they get very restless. You can't keep them for 3 months. You can't. They are ready to give you 1 week, 3 weeks of their time, and they are ready to pay you top money for that time. Then you have to give value. So I will keep encouraging the Admiralty University to try and give value. Build institutional excellence. Build institutional excellence. And retain top faculty. I repeat, and retain top faculty. I repeat, attract and retain top faculty. Invest in research competitiveness. Offer professional certification within degree programs and to add immediate labor market value, strengthen your brand, your ranking, and the quality of your students. Attract and retain top faculty. Every organization is just as good as the quality of manpower they have. What makes Relive is not the tank farm, it's not the truck, it's not the petrol stations, it's not the ship. It's the people. If you take the people out of it, there's no organization. Now, it's more critical for an academic environment where what you sell is intellectual power. You're not selling any tangible goods, you're not selling petrol here. If somebody tries to say a very nice petrol station, they get fuel, they pack with money, and if they can say, I got fuel, am I correct? Here, what you're selling is intangible, it's intellectual power. So it's important that at all times you attract and you retain top values. It's a very dicey topic. It's a very dicey topic. But please forgive me to guide you. Just forgive me for those of you who hear me down. It's important that you retain them. You retain top. Weeks ago or months ago, but not too long ago, a streaming headline in Punch. Nigeria professor less than 580,000 naira a month. God, I was looking for where to hide. It was scandalous. You can't attract and retain anything near being top talent if you're not ready to reward that talent adequately. So it's something we need to address and address very urgently. Because unfortunately, what we tend to forget is that intellectual power is not bound by boundaries. Hello? Intellectual power is not bound by the of Nigeria or the boundaries of Africa. No. Today, I mean, just before we came here, the vice chancellor was introducing me to a professor who actually is getting an honorary doctorate degree today. And he's a professor of engineering from Georgia Tech University in Atlanta, Georgia. That is one of the best schools in America and indeed the world. And he's a Nigerian. So in other words, intellectual prowess is not what you be confined with it. So if you want to attract the best hands, you must try to price them a bit internationally. So you can attract them. Then if you attract them, what do you do to keep them? You need to pay them well. And then if you can't pay them well, grant is okay, a lot of things I've talked about is okay. But internal funding, internal generation of funding also needs to be addressed. This is not a platform for us to interrogate it in full. I just want to touch on it tangentially. Because ultimately, a great faculty enhances branding, ranking, and student quality. And look at the number of Nigerian students who are schooling abroad, who are schooling in the UK, who are schooling in the US. I don't think anybody is trying to beat that data. How much needs this country in terms of school fees, the pressure that puts on our foreign exchange, how much pressure, how much flight tickets go out of this country because people are flying out to take their children to school or children are flying up and down. If we commit just a fraction of that money in our local universities.